Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Zoe and I make motherhood and lifestyle videos. And in today's video I'm going to be talking all about dummy use, how to get your child to take the dummy, how we did, and how we have started to wean our child and how we have successfully completed the weaning process. So we started Nate on these dummies when he was a newborn, and like most newborns, he did take it, but it fell out of his mouth all the time and we had to keep putting it back in. It was very helpful for, sleeps and car rides and things like that, but he wasn't a huge fan. As I said, it just constantly fell out and he didn't really keep it in. How we ended up getting him to eventually take it wasn't until he was a little bit older when he started to actually hold objects and check them out and put them in his mouth. I think around the 4-month mark was when he really started to take it. And around then we actually thought he wasn't really a fan of dummies and he probably wasn't really going to be using them. So at this point we just had them around the house, but we weren't really offering them to him anymore. It had been weeks since he had taken one. And then one day we decided just to give him a dummy to play with. We always gave him a different object or toy to look at and hold when we were changing him. And, he sort of played around with it and would bite around the sides, but didn't actually suck on it. And then, we kept doing that every now and again, not expecting him to suck on the dummy, just as a toy, just to play with. And one day he actually put it in his mouth and sucked on it and he really enjoyed it. And from that day onwards, he loved the dummy. So if you're a parent who is trying to get their little babies to take a dummy, you could try that way, just giving it to them to play with and in the hopes that eventually they'll take it, because it has been so helpful to us. It is so great for those car rides, or if you're at a wedding and your child is just real fussy, that dummy can really quieten them down and calm them down. So good for nap routines. We always used to give him the dummy when we were getting him ready for a nap, because that just calmed him down and got him used to knowing that he always got the dummy before nap, so he knew that a nap was coming up. Now let's talk about the weaning process. So I think it's really important, if your child's taking a dummy, to think about the weaning process. I've spoken to so many matured parents who have had a few kids, or maybe they have, a 3 or 4 year old, and I've asked them about the weaning process of using a dummy. And quite a lot of them have mentioned that they wish they started earlier, and something that they wish they looked into, because it definitely does get harder as they get older and grow more of an attachment to the dummy. So I did a little bit of research just to see what age would be best, and when the dummy can start creating problems. I found that pretty much the first 12 months of the baby stage, it doesn't really create any problems, unless you're concerned about them not falling asleep on their own, taking the dummy to help them fall asleep. If you're doing sleep training, then that might be an issue to you, but other than that, it doesn't really cause any issues. After 12 months though, it can start to cause issues if they're sucking on the dummy quite a bit throughout the day. After 12 months, they start to develop speech, and so that's a really big one. They're taking it all in, but if they have a dummy in their mouth, they can't practice and get the words out. So toddlers who do use a dummy more, especially during the day when they're awake, when they could be talking, it can delay the speech development. It can also mess around, I guess, with their oral development and, their teeth. They're getting a lot of teeth after 12 months old, and they're learning how to chew and how to drink out of a cup and all that sort of stuff. So it can affect that. Babies and toddlers who take a dummy are also known to show more ear infections and things like that as well. So there are a few things that can come up in the toddler phase if they're still using a dummy. Also, toddlers after the age of 2 usually get really attached to a dummy, and it can be so hard to take it away from them. So in my research that I did, I found pretty much everything was saying definitely get them off the dummy before 2, because that's when it really starts to cause issues and it can be really hard to get them off of it. So with all that said, we decided to start the weaning process at 12 months. I'm not one to just completely cold turkey take something away, because I want him to be able to deal with the whole process emotionally, and not just, you know, one day be using it and then all of a sudden it's ripped away from him and he has no idea, he doesn't understand why we've taken it away. I didn't want to do that, but I know that that process can work really well for others. What I wanted to do was a gentle weaning process. So we started at 12 months and my goal was for him to be fully off of the dummy at 18 months. That gave me a full 6-month period. And, you know, a few reasons why. You know, I just wanted to do it gently, as I said, and I didn't really want a whole bunch of tears about it. I wanted it to be easy for both us as the parents and for Nate. Also, the dummies that he has been using, they only go up to 18 months old. So after that, we would have to go and get the bigger dummy. And I didn't really want to get the next size up. So we started at 12 months and it was actually a really easy process, and it's been, I think, really nice on all of us. It hasn't been stressful. There haven't been tears. It's just been really nice. So at the very beginning, when Nate was 12 months old, the way we started the weaning process was to gradually take it away from him. So we didn't go, you know, full turkey and gave it to him when we felt he needed it. We still did offer it sometimes, but just not as much. So we pretty much only offered it around nap time or sleep time if he was being fussy. We stopped giving it to him in the car unless he was really fussy. And we stopped giving it to him when he was out and about. And I think the whole process, it's not only helping them to learn how to deal with their own emotions and find a different way to comfort themselves, you know, instead of laying the dummy, but it's also the parent has to, that's something I learned, is I had to learn different ways to comfort him and help him to calm down rather than just going, here's a dummy, take this. So it's been a bit of a process for us as well. So yeah, we pretty much just tried to reduce dummy use as much as possible. We always used to give it to him at around nap time for his nap routine, and then I would take it out, I'd give him a feed, I'd breastfeed him, and then I'd usually give it back to him if he was fussing. Sometimes he would just go straight to sleep and he was fine without it. We stopped doing that. So yeah, we noticed at the start he was a little bit more fussy during the nap time routine when we were, you know, changing his nappy and getting the room ready, getting him all ready for his nap, because he was pretty tired around nap time, and the dummy would definitely calm him down. So without that, he was a bit whingy, but he learnt to deal with it and it was fun. And then we only gave him the dummy when he was just not settling for sleeps. And that gradually reduced. At the start, we were giving it to him almost every day, and then that just reduced and reduced to the point where it might have only been once or twice a week. We felt he needed to use the dummy, and then even then he wasn't sucking on it for his entire nap like he used to. He might just suck on it for 10 minutes until he calmed down, and then he'd spit it out and he'd just go to sleep, and we'd sneak in and take it away out of his cot so that he didn't, you know, find it and wake up and suck on it again. So that was all just a gradual process, and it just reduced more and more and more and more, and we learned different ways to calm him down for sleep and for naps. You know, before we would just automatically give him the dummy, and now, you know, we might rub his butt or his belly or shush him, and we just tried, you know, alternative methods to calming him down and relaxing him for sleep. Times that he's been sick or just unsettled, teething, that sort of thing, we've just done different things to help him settle, like giving him lots of cuddles and that sort of thing, and he's just learnt to deal without it. I mean, it is a man-made thing. It is made to, I guess, replace the breast. So because he is breastfeeding, there was definitely a lot more comfort feeds than what he used to. That is really good for your milk supply if you are breastfeeding. So we just reduce this more and more. He's 16 months old now, so there's still technically 2 months left of my plan of the weaning process, and he does still use these, but only at daycare. I think it's because he has such a link between sucking and going to sleep, because I do feed him before his naps and before bedtime. So, you know, when he's at daycare, obviously he doesn't get that. We don't at all give it to him at home anymore. He doesn't even ask for it. He settles straight away. I think he just knows he just doesn't have it at home. He doesn't need it. There have been a few times in the last month or two where I've just sort of, you know, he hasn't been settling and I've tried everything else and I've just went to give him the dummy thinking hopefully that'll help, and he's actually refused it. Like, he threw it back at me a few times, or he might have sucked on it and spat it out straight away, or has just held it and hasn't put it in his mouth. Daycare has actually told me that a few times he's gone down for his nap and has just held the dummy or sucked on it for a little bit and spat it out. So that's really cool that that happens, but he does still ask them for it. He goes over to his bag when they're doing nap time at daycare and he points to it and they know he's asking for his dummy, and that's fine. So I'm going to keep packing his dummy because, you know, obviously they have a lot of babies and toddlers to put down for a nap at the same time, and I can imagine that would be really stressful. So, you know, anything to help them out to get my son to go to sleep, I'm fine with. You know, eventually he's going to drop his nap, so he's not going to have the dummy at all. So I've also heard a little tip, which I may try at 18 months if he's still using a dummy for daycare, is buying a newborn dummy, so the really tiny ones, and that sort of, it comes out of their mouth easier and they don't really like it. You know, it's very different to the normal size that they used to. So they try to suck on it for a bit, but eventually they stop using it just because they don't like the feel. So that's something you could try if your child still really wants a dummy, and that's something that I personally will try when Nate's 18 months, if he still is taking a dummy at daycare. But we have successfully weaned from the dummy at home, which I'm so thankful about, because I just never wanted him to get so attached that, you know, he wouldn't settle at all without a dummy, or that he'd have a tantrum or a meltdown because we weren't giving him his dummy. So that's it. It's been such an easy process. I'm so glad it's pretty much over. At the start, you know, around the 12-13 month mark is when he was still using a fair bit, and I was thinking this might not work. I might have to go cold turkey. And it can be like a bit daunting because you just don't know what's going to happen and how they're going to react to it. But we just stuck it out, and I'm glad I gave myself 6 months for this whole process, just doing it really gently. It's just been less pressure on me and less pressure on Nate. I'm really happy with the whole process, and I think I'll do it again with our next child. I'll probably do the whole weaning process at around 12 months. I just think it's a great age to do that. They're not too attached, and you know, everyone's different. Some people choose to wean it once they're no longer a newborn, around 3-4 months old, and some do it maybe around 6 or 9 months old. I just wanted to get through that baby stage with a little bit of help, and that dummy has been so helpful, because when they're a baby, they just don't usually sleep the best, and you know, they just need all the comfort really that they can get. So it has been very, very helpful during the baby stage, but I'm so glad that we are reducing the dummy use now in the toddler stage. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video today. I hope that's given you some tips or advice on how to go about either giving your child the dummy and introducing it, or taking it away from them. Yeah, and as I said, look, every parent is different, every child's different, so your child might be a whole different process, just because they might use the dummy a bit differently to how my child does. So they're all different, but really just do what works for you and your family. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Please make sure you hit subscribe to watch my next video.